Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Listen, guys, I'm going to give you guys an update on what's happening both in the United Kingdom and in the United States. And I believe this is the start of something much darker. I'm going to talk about the phenomenon that's been sweeping through both the United States and the United Kingdom in absolute lockstep. I'm talking about the link-up culture and the teen takeovers. Now, nobody can deny that these things are not happening. So before I get onto this, guys, can you please do me a real big favor? I know it's early in the morning because the weather's ridiculous in the UK at the moment. And if I'm in here any later than like 1, 2, it starts to get unbearable. So I'm going to start my live streams a little bit earlier. This is just going to be a short live stream. I'm going to get through this and I'm going to explain to you guys what this actually is. And the reason I'm doing this is because if we can't understand the problem, how do you hope to find a solution? So what we're seeing in Britain, with these link-ups and what's happening over in America with the teen takeovers is not a separate problem. That is the exact same phenomena playing out both sides of the Atlantic. In the United Kingdom, teenagers organize on TikTok, Snapchat, link up in town city centers, swarm shops, they start fights, they loot stores, they turn streets into absolute chaos and carnage. No-go zones for the police. This is what's happening. That's real. That's really happening. In American cities, Chicago, Philadelphia, New York, Los Angeles, probably more, it's called teen takeovers. Hundreds, thousands of kids descend on malls, beaches, downtown areas. They cause the exact same problem, guys. They do. They cause the exact same problem, and it's the exact same demographic. Same tactics, same age group, same cultural background, same social media coordination, same total disrespect for law, authority, and people's private property. This is not random youth crime, guys. This is organized. This is organized chaos. Now, if you guys have been following my channel for a while, I've done live streams, and I've done like an hour. I've done an hour, maybe 2 hours, explaining, talking about ideological subversion. Depending where you go, 5 or 4. 4's the easiest one to understand, but the different phases of ideological subversion. You've got the demoralization phase, which is already done in the United Kingdom. We are being destabilized in the United Kingdom right now. And what we are seeing on the streets of the United Kingdom, in the streets of the United States as well, is that further push to push people into crisis. And when there's a crisis, people just want it to stop, and they will accept anything, anyone who says, hey, listen, you know what? I've got the solution. So that's what I believe this is, guys. I believe this is state-sponsored ideological subversion, and I get it, right? I get it. This is going to be difficult for some people to digest, but you've got to understand that ideological subversion is not. It's not a key you put in and turn, and it happens straight away. This happens over many, 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 many years. Minimum time frame for ideological subversion is around 20 years. In the United Kingdom, we have been hit with this for, I would argue, since 1963. For decades, certain elements within our own government. Now, you guys can see this in real time, how some people get lenient sentences. Some people don't even get sent to jail for some of the most heinous crimes. You guys know exactly what I'm talking about. Whereas if you shout at a dog, and I'm not advocating shouting at dogs, what I'm saying is, there's a man in the United Kingdom who got 20 months in jail for shouting at a dog. There are 3 boys who committed the worst crimes you can imagine to 2 girls. They escaped jail. They didn't spend a day in jail. So this, and people can't understand it. They're, oh God, what's this happening? When you understand the processes of ideological subversion, it all makes perfect sense. And for decades, both in the United Kingdom and the US, certain elements within government, non-government organizations, education systems, media, both sides of the pond have pushed an ideology that deliberately undermines discipline, family, and authority. It also destroys any sense of national identity. This is all part of ideological subversion, guys. And I get it. People think that the problems that we have are easy to solve. They're not. Once this is set in, and it has, it becomes very difficult to root out, because a lot of the people who are subverted, I would say Keir Starmer is a perfect example, they don't even know they're subverted, right? And that's the beauty of ideological subversion. You subvert people when they are impressionable. You subvert people and you get them to really believe in what they're doing. That's it, then they're cooked. You're not going to change. You're not going to change their mind. Not a chance. They've taught generations of young people that the West is inherently evil, that the police are the enemy, that the rules don't apply to them, and that society owes them everything. If you throw in open borders, mass migration, unintegrated communities, the breakdown of the two-parent family, and an endless stem of violent, antisocial, anti-democratic, what's the word I'm looking for? Anti bad stuff online, right? Antisocial content. I think that's the best word to use, actually. Antisocial content on social media. And this is the result that we get right now. Now, they don't need to organize. I'm talking about the subverters now. So, for example, whatever near-peer state-sponsored or adversary you guys think this is, I could probably point the finger. They don't need to organize every single link-up. They don't need to organize every single team takeover. All they need to do is create the conditions and give the first one a little push. And then you pump the algorithms, you have the bot farms, you make it look exciting, you make it appeal to a certain demographic. Little donkey in here, a flying donkey. And then what that does is, once they're over that step, they go themselves. They just create those conditions for this to happen. The moral vacuum, the contempt for law, the contempt for order, the sense of entitlement, then sit back and watch the countries burn. This is classical ideological subversion 101, guys. Like, it's so easily, like, when you understand this, right? When you understand ideological subversion, you spot it. You can't unsee it, right? You can't unsee it. Destabilize the culture, weaken social cohesion, and push both sides towards a permanent crisis. Now, in the United Kingdom, Khrushchev himself would be, he wouldn't, like, if Khrushchev saw the state of the United Kingdom right now, and the United States, I would say, not in his wildest dreams could he believe, would he be able to believe that, two of the most powerful countries the world has ever seen could be brought to their knees by something as simple as ideological subversion. And it's so dangerous because it doesn't end anywhere. It doesn't end well. It never does. Never does, guys. It never ends well. In the United Kingdom, and I would say in the United States as well, there are bigger problems because normally your subversive tactics would be us versus them, right? Red versus blue, capitalists versus communists, whatever. Here in the United Kingdom, it's so much more complicated, and it's very difficult to, identify where these chips are going to fall, but they will fall. Because a country that cannot control its own youth cannot control anything. A country where teenagers seize public spaces at will is a country sliding into disorder. It's a country sliding into chaos. It's a country sliding into crisis. And both Britain and America are sliding to those places at the same time. What we are seeing with this link-up culture and with the team takeovers, this is not organic, guys. Trust me. This is engineered. The same forces that I would say opened the border, hollowed out working class communities, and told kids that Western civilization is the problem are now watching the inevitable consequences unfold. So the real question we should all be asking ourselves, I think, right now, who benefits from a generation of young people have no respect for anything? Who benefits from constant low-level chaos and carnage, rising tensions? Because right now, both the United States and the United Kingdom are being pushed towards the same breaking point. And if people don't wake up and try to reverse ideological subversion, these link-ups and team takeovers are just the start of something that's much darker. There is now one of the problems here is we have these uneducated people in government, and do you know what? That's probably the wrong word to use. You have these subverted people, right, who have been subverted in universities, who've been subverted through the education system. Because I'm not going to go into it now. One of the first places you want to, with ideological subversion, one of the first places you want to hit is the education system, right? You want to get people and you want to change them ideologically, right? So you change them ideologically when they're being educated. And this is a big problem. So these people now believe they are the educated ones, but they're actually the subverted ones. And they don't understand they're subverted, and they won't listen to you, and they will fight tooth and nail. They will, guys. They will fight absolute tooth and nail to deny that they are ideologically subverted. Now, these are the problems that we have. These are the problems that we have in the West right now. This is literally ideological subversion 101, guys. And I've spoke about this lots of times. Right, what I'm going to do, I'm going to jump onto the chat. Guys. I need to sort this light out. It's absolutely terrible. The lighting in here is terrible. So, right, let me jump onto the chat, actually. Fred is... Oh, let me put the chat on. Fred is saying, high frequencies set minds to negativity. So if we must vote, the negativity makes us think negative about the vote. Exorcism Al Golem is saying social engineering through the smart technology is pinpoint accurate. David King is saying subversion took the West. Yeah, I mean... I would say in 1963 at the crescendo of at the height of the Cuban Missile Crisis, that's when the Russians, I guess, the Russians, they understood that they couldn't defeat the West at having a real fight. So what they did is they then started to pour all their money, time, effort, and resources into ideological subversion and subverting people. Revolution has arrived is saying the madness has begun. Yeah, listen, I am going to be talking about the madness that's begun in the United, I'm going to be talking about this when I come back on at 10. Now, I'm going to be sharing a lot of articles with you guys when I come back on at 10. Some of these articles may be duplicated because I've just lost control now. I've not lost control. I've lost count. I've lost understanding of how many gang violence, how many fires, how many arrests, how many migrants. You see these news reports. Afghan migrant sentenced to this for, you guys know the crime I'm talking about, right? So listen, guys, I'm getting lots of videos banned lately. So you guys can think, you know, that crime you guys, when you think of an Afghan migrant, there's a certain crime that is synonymous. No, maybe not synonymous. That's associated, right? That's associated with that phrase. Now, honestly, I'm losing track. I am, guys. I'm losing track of, because you see these things flash up on the news. You see the headline and you think, hang on a minute, wasn't that the headline yesterday? Oh, are they reporting it on it? Are they reporting on it again? And then you look and you're like, oh no, that's another one. And then like later on that day, you will see more or less the same headline. And you're like, hang on a minute, right? Is that, and you think to yourself, you're like, right, hang on a minute. Is that the same headline and they're just repeating it again? Or is that another one? And you want to switch off from it. You know, you want to switch off from it, but you know, this is constant now. And look, guys, I'm putting it out there to you guys right now that what we are seeing, not just the link up, you've got, you know, but the link up, I think is, if you guys think of why there was no mass outcry for Henry Novak, ideological subversion. If you think why there was a mass outcry over George Floyd, right? Again, this is my speculation. Obviously, I've got no way of proving this, but I would speculate heavily that the George Floyd riots and protests were as a direct result of ideological subversion, right? Because what you can do when you are a state-sponsored entity, you can have bot farms, right? And these bot farms will be just visualize this, guys. Okay, you've got a room. And you've got 100 desks in that room with 100 people sat on it, right? And you've got them literally split down the middle, 50-50. 50 on that, 50 on the left, 50 on the right. Or 50 on the left, 50 on the right for you guys. And you've got the project manager standing at the front. And, you know, this is for entertainment purposes, right? This is how I suspect it would happen. And you've got 100 people in the room and you say to them, right, you 50, and each one of these people, sorry, going back. So you've got 100 people, and each one of these people have got software, emulators, mobile phones, SIM cards, and each one of these people have got maybe 10, 15, 20 social media profiles, right? So those 100 people, very quickly, those 100 people are now 1,000 online people, right? So now you're looking at 1,000 people, right? So now you've got 1,000, you've got the ability to put 1,000 people wherever you want to put them online. So what you do is you say, right, you 50, I want you to push right-wing propaganda to get Britain angry. Amelia, Amelia, right? You know, the orange, purple hair girl, right? The purple hair girl. The Amelia AI, I don't know where she's from, but I would speculate she is near peer state-sponsored ideological subversion. I know what you're saying. Did you notice, right? Did you notice how Amelia was out and she was trying to roust up right-wing propaganda? Did you guys notice how she vanished on the 28th of February? Did you guys notice that, how Amelia vanished? And then you started to see all this AI generated propaganda, these little Lego videos coming out of Iran. Did you guys notice that? And Amelia had vanished. And it was done it looked to me like it was done by the same computer program. Interesting, right? You know, so you've got to understand these things. So now you've got these big cells, ideological subversion cells, and what they do is they can pump in. If you say, right, I want all of you guys to like and share this particular article, right? What that will do in the algorithm, like your whatever algorithm it is, that will then push that to the front for everybody else, because what that will think is, oh wow, all these people want to look at this article, this is what the people are interested in, and then that gets pushed. So now you understand how certain things get pushed up in the algorithm because they're being assisted, and certain things don't. And it's very difficult to stop. It really is. It's very difficult to stop. So that's just one way you can, ideological subversion works. Now, here in the United Kingdom and here in the, and here in the West and with the United States as well, I would say, things are a lot, things are a lot worse, because what you then have, that is just the online presence. What you can also do is here in the West, because we have lots of sleeper cells operating in the West, what you can do is then you can get your sleeper cells to do actual physical things, right? So those physical things now with the online things, and then you can push that narrative, and you don't have to leave your, you're not going to, like these state-sponsored bot farms. Like, nobody's going to knock on the door of a state-sponsored bot farm in, like, Moscow or something. Not a chance. And say, hey, can you stop doing it? Not a chance that's going to happen. So, as a quick rundown, ladies and gentlemen, I do believe that what's happening in both the United States and the United Kingdom is ideological subversion 101. With these link-ups, with these teen takeovers, it's literally the exact same phenomenon on the exact same social media platforms at the exact same time in history. Very difficult to argue, I believe, that this is not ideological subversion. Now, what comes next? What comes next after this is something much darker. If you've probably not, but if any of you guys have been to any of my courses that I've done, when I teach not high explosives, hang on. I do that, but what's heat? Hostile environment awareness training. One of the things I always say, so hostile environment awareness training is if you get people going into a hostile environment, a war zone, a critically damaged, a country that's its infrastructure is broken down. There's no emergency services, and you're your own. You are your own emergency services, basically. If you're going into one of those countries, you've never been there before. Normally, well, some people, I would give them a hostile environment awareness training course. Now, what I would do I would go through a lot of things, and they are country specific, threat specific. One of the things I will always talk about is how to deal with children, right? Because it's very difficult. It's very difficult to deal with children, especially if you're a parent, you know that, right? So what I'm talking about is, how do you deal with children that are, for example, what the example I would give you guys if you was on one of my courses is, how do you deal with children if you're out there and you're giving out humanitarian aid, you're giving out whatever, I don't know, boxes of food and water bottles, and children come out and they are going through your pockets. They're pulling things out of your pockets. They've got your phone. They're taking coin. They're literally taking the things out of your pockets. They're trying to take, just literally, they are trying to take everything. How do you deal with that? It's because it becomes very difficult, right? Because the optics, because of the optics. You guys can imagine now, how do the police in the United Kingdom, how do the police deal with this link-up culture? It becomes very difficult for the police to deal with this link-up culture with these, with these kids because of the optics, right? Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, this was just a short live stream. Ideological subversion 101. I'm going to be back on at what time am I back on? I'm going to be back on at 10 in my normal time, and I'll catch you guys later.